Hello everyone, my name is Brianna Smith and today I'm here at RUNABEAT Media, London headquarters, joined with a very talented DJ EPIK Jones. How are you?
Thank you, I am good. How are you doing,
I'm
Brianna?
doing good today. So, my first question for you is what were some of your earliest musical influences growing up in Jamaica?
So, before I even get to Jamaica, I want to start where my journey started here in the UK. Born in Brent, and from about the age of 4, my mum reminds me of once Luciano Pavarotti was performing and she noticed how attentive I was listening to him, you know, with his orchestra doing opera music. And I moved to Jamaica in 1993 at the age of 7, which was a bit of an eye-opener, and the music that was there at the time in 1993, you had the likes of Beanie Man, Bounty Killer, that, you know, were emerging talents. So it started from a sound system culture in Jamaica. The street parties, the big sound systems like what we will see in Notting Hill Carnival.
Yeah.
So yeah, the early influences came from the street, the sound systems, radio stations. Everywhere you went to, every bar, there was music being played. So my early influences of music came from dancehall, and then later developed into where the grassroots of the music was with, you know, the reggae music. Everybody, eventually, if you're in Jamaica, you get a taste of Bob Marley, the Dennis Browns and such. But the earlier influences was from dancehall and the street elements.
So you were always surrounded by that?
Always surrounded. Came from a music family in a sense, and even sporting. My father used to play cricket here in the UK, and he went to Jamaica, and you know, cricket kind of coincided with the culture of food and also music. If you attended any games with the West Indies, there's always like the instruments being played, Dutch pot covers being knocked. You know, music is a big part of not just Jamaican, but I think West Indian culture. We're surrounded by it. So.
And how did you first get into DJing, and what inspired you to pursue it as a whole career?
Well, some people would say because they love music. In my case, I did my common entrance, which was like the entry exams to get into high schools in Jamaica, very young, age 10. And I passed for a school called Kingston College, one of the prominent high schools in Jamaica. And when I was in 3rd form, which is like year 9, I was quite young. I was still like 12, 13. Most of the other kids were like 15. Voices breaking, beards, mustache. And they didn't get ID to go clubs. They were like teenage clubs that you could go to, but you had to be like 16. And I didn't look 16. I was very tiny still. I was just thinking, the one person I don't see getting questioned for ID is the person playing the music. So I thought that was my entry, and that was my entry into DJing. And my story of, you know, like, I like music, but I didn't think I wanted to be, you know, like an actual DJ. There was other elements in music, but that's what got me in there. I used to collect a lot of music on my computer, and it just happened that I was doing a party. I was doing an event, and I, you know, burned a lot of CDs. The CDs ran out at the party's still going on. And I said, I have all this music on the computer. How am I going to find a way to get this computer attached to the sound system? And you know, the computers used to have a little headphone port, and I found a wire that was able to plug from the computer sound card to the sound system. And yeah, I was able to play for the rest of the party, and that's where the DJing journey started from. And you know, even to this day, we're noted as one of the first computerized sound systems or DJs, you know, in Jamaica. And that was happening, you know, during the 90s. And I came to the UK, and it was the same as well. When I was using computers, a lot of people were still using vinyls and CDs. And I've kind of continued that innovation.
Wow, and it happened at such a young age as well.
Yep, I started, as I said, 12, 13.
Yeah, that's a great origin story.
But,
so, you've worked with major artists like Spice and Sean Paul. Can you tell us about your experience working on the stage with these reggae dancehall legends?
Well, I'm very happy that you've mentioned those two, because I see those two artists as people in the, you know, at the top of their game. With Sean Paul, I mean, his journey kind of explains itself. You're talking about somebody that I see, he hones his craft, and he delivers dancehall and the Jamaica culture to whatever track or project he goes on. And in doing the tour with him, I saw the preparation, how serious he takes his, you know, rehearsals, how serious he takes the stage production, things like the visuals that are going to be there, being in sync, time coding the music videos and the visuals with his actual performance, the timelines in terms of when he does tape breaks, the dancing, choreography. I mean, he takes all of this serious, and I mean, even his fitness. Before Sean Paul goes on stage, you'll see him side stage doing push-ups, jumping jacks, you know, and just the fact that he's very, very interested in every element of the show. When on tour with Sean Paul, we did about 7 cities in the UK that I've never been to those cities to play dancehall music. We went to Glasgow, Newcastle, Hull, you know, cities that, you know, I've seen them due to football, but this guy was filling these arenas during the week, and he was interested in all the opening acts. I was the act that was performing before he went on stage. Every time there was no MC introducing, so everything had to be, all the transitions. And I mean, the way he would say, all right, you know, you could do this in your set. I like that, what you did. After everyone, there was a review, and he, you know, took time to talk to everybody. It was a pleasure working with him. And Spice now, I don't think I've met somebody, I mean, maybe Sean Paul runs very close, that works as hard. In terms of, I mean, Spice is very hands-on with a lot of things she does, creative control in terms of her videos, in terms of the songs she records, in terms of her entrepreneurship. You know, she does clothes, she does hair. And I mean, working with her now, it's been a bit different because I've played tracks for her. I've produced songs with Spice. I've gone on tour with Spice. I've seen how much work she puts into all of that. And also as a female artist, where her journey is a bit different. There's a lot of stereotypes. There's a lot of, you know, what I would call career blocking for females. And she, in a way that Serena and Venus has done in tennis, I have seen where she and personals previous to her, Lady Saw, and people that have been in the business, you know, maybe a little before and same time as her, people like Tanny Stevens, they've managed to turn that around. I've seen where their work rate and what they have done has kind of made it and opened a passageway for like the new acts like Shensia, Jada Kingdom, Moyen, and a few more, Leela Ike and such. But it's from that hard work, as I said, that Sean Paul and Spice, and working with them, what I've seen is what they have done and what they've paved. They've made it much simpler for all the artists that are coming after, or for people like myself that are DJs and producers working in these fields. When I just came to the UK, I mean, probably the only dancehall that was being played was Sean Paul in some clubs, and it's become an avenue where from Sean Paul you got Sirani, from Sirani you got Egyptian. So yeah, it's brilliant working with them, as I said.
Very inspiring.
Yes.
And you've recently released a new debut album, Now That's Epic. What was the inspiration behind it?
Well, producing, I started off, you know, as I said, the journey as a sound system DJ, and I look at previous personals that have been in the business. So there's the likes of King Jammies, who was a sound system, went into production, you know, worked with the likes of Shabba Ranks, he's worked with Bounty Killer, he's worked with Beanie Man, he's worked with majority of all the, you know, foundation, legendary dancehall artists. I've looked at Stone Love, you know, who was recently here for, you know, Stone Love as a sound system for an event called Bus Drivers Link Up. And I mean, Stone Love has been touring for over 30 years, but they also as a sound system do productions. And I thought, I come from a sound system background, having a sound system in Jamaica, Epic International. And the sound system I always saw as the platform. You know, you have the sound system, you have the DJs, you play the tracks and artists are able to perform. And I just look on it as the next element after artists perform and hone their craft around the sound system was the sound system used to produce. The sound system used to be like the record label. You produce, you hone the artist's craft like an A&R. The sound goes around, the artist travels with the sound. And I thought to complete that element of my journey, the next step was producing. And instead of all these singles, put all these singles as a body of work and do an album. Very proud of it because I have the likes of Spice on there, Shatta Wale from Ghana, Chillery Banks from UK, Lisa Mercedes, Fabio from Mexico, so it has also Spanish, Latin verses on there. I worked with also some people I've known as, and I consider them as friends, like Smoothface, Cyclone, I have TOK. Oh, wow. So there's a lot of artists, Elephant Man, that some of these artists were artists I listened to while I was going to high school in Jamaica, and to actually be in the studio and work with them, I think it was the perfect time to do this album. A lot of things have aligned, and yeah.
And where can we stream this album for
well,
viewers?
For many of the platforms that people may use, from Spotify to Apple Music to, it's available on YouTube, Audio, Deezer, and I mean most of the streaming platforms, because I know there's so many streaming. Sometimes when we're selecting them, we see up to 150 stores. So I think there's stores literally in every region, depending on what regions people use different streaming platforms. So it's available on all of them.
And what challenges did you face while creating your debut album, and how did you overcome them?
Well, you got challenges like when you're working with one artist, there's challenges. Just think about doing a compilation with many artists, because then you're talking about putting out a project that aligns with everybody. There's one track I have on the album, Dancehall Girl, which is Shatta Wale, Lisa Mercedes, Aishana, and Fabio. Fabio is the Spanish artist, and on that track a lot of things have happened for the artist during the time it was recorded. So and this is just one story. Shatta Wale had the song with Beyonce that was on Lion King soundtrack. They wanted to use the original song as a reference track, which they did for that song. Major Lazer used it as a reference track because they wanted that same sound. So then when the remix was recorded, they were like, hey, remember, we use your track as a reference, so we don't want the two tracks out at the same time. And so I had to let that time run from the new Lion King with which Beyonce was executive producer for the soundtrack. And then Aishana had a song with Ed Sheeran. So then she didn't want the song going out at the same time with Ed Sheeran. And then Lisa Mercedes now, later on down the line, she had a song called Kono, which, was one of them hot TikTok songs, and Jason Derulo was on it. And then she was on the Fine Nine remix with Nicki Minaj, with all these other Caribbean artists, Little Miss remix. So then I had to let all of those different, be accommodating, be patient, and all of those things had to run. And then I had to find the time that aligned with everybody to actually have it on my project and be able to get, the support to promote it and clear it. So those are some of the challenges, the patience, the timing, clearing songs as well, because artists have contracts and sometimes their labels do not want them to have, contrasting songs or songs that are going to be competing with songs that they're investing in. So yeah, that was just one of the challenges, but there's many challenges that has come with the album, but they're challenges that I've embraced, and they're stories that now help to promote the album, so I don't complain about them.
Worth it. And what are some of your key elements you believe make a great dancehall track?
Well, I think dancehall isn't just a sound, it's a feeling. Because when you think of dancehall, you think about the place, the venue that people go to listen to, what is our music, and our music is more a feeling. And I think that's why there's certain sound elements that go into actual dancehall track. Like we feel bass, we feel drums, we move to things like that. And that's why some of the more subtle instruments, you won't find them in your traditional hit dancehall songs, but dancehall is a feeling. So I think first and foremost, when you're trying to create a dancehall song, it has to feel good. I think dancehall, the reason why it's been so successful is because it hasn't followed a lot of what you would call the traditional music rules.
That's true.
It's a bit like, James Brown, if you've ever heard him talk about his music, it was about the feeling. Every instrument to him was a drum, and it was about what you felt. You know, when you talk about music rules, it was never under 1, 2, 3, 4 with James Brown. It was always what felt good. And I think dancehall follows the same element. It has to feel good.
Yeah.
It has to make you want to move. And then, as I said, the other elements of the instruments that we tend to use, that's what's going to make it dancehall. And then when we add that little spice or seasoning, as them say, it gives it that dancehall flavor, which is, you know, the accent, the culture.
And all about the vibes as well.
Yes.
And your singles like Call It, Tonight and Make It Clap have gone viral.
Yeah.
What do you think contributed to their success?
Well, Call It, for one, you know, as I said, that was spice. And, you know, the element. She had a song called Under Fire, and then Cool It was like the follow-up that, you know, after you go Under Fire, it was Cool It. And she shot the video in some parts in Sweden and everything, where it was like this ice bar and everything. So the video helped to contribute this thing where the first set of content was people in the snow. And then what happened was there was an ice challenge, because, you know, you can do all the strategy. Music has a big impact in the sense that timing and luck.
Yeah.
So we thought the snow thing, we're saying, okay, the rest of the Caribbean, certain tropical climates don't get snow. How are they going to interact? But then there was an ice bucket challenge that was going around at the time in the summer. And people started to use that same ice bucket challenge, and they started cooling down themselves in the summer, throwing ice on themselves, throwing ice in the parties. And I mean, there was content from one of those parties that World Star Hip Hop and then the Shade Room actually posted, and it was a dancer throwing ice on somebody else while dancing. And then from that, it just became more and more viral. Dexter Daps talked about going on stage after Spice, and that went viral, where he said, you know, he went on stage and you don't want to perform after Spice, because when she finished, threw all the ice on the stage, he ran out and he just slipped and he dropped. And it was like, he had to try to style it out and everything. So all those stories contributed to the viral factor of, you know, the Cool It movement that Spice was doing. And I mean, as I said, even with her own platform, her reposting it, we did certain things that helped to complement it going viral. But something going viral is never the content creators in terms of who creates the music. Really, it's really the people that make something go viral. And as I said, you know, because dancehall is a feeling, people must have felt something in it and chose to join in. The likes of Tonight, viral in a different way, because that's just it's a cover song that my friend sang, Smooth Face, John Legend's Tonight, and he did it in a, you know, on a reggae beat, and it just became, it's just naturally, organically became viral in Brazil, a part of Brazil called Maceió, and people just sing it. Everywhere we get videos of people dancing to it, singing it. Make It Clap, another single that went viral. I mean, that basically the name, you know, it's not a terminology that's normally used in Jamaican culture. That song is Cyclone and Conscience. It's more terminology coined in maybe America. You know, Busta Rhymes said, we make it clap. Most of the times when you hear about clap, it tends to be like an American, you know, coined terminology. But because it being a dancehall song and a lot of Jamaican, I would say, TV and media that is exposed to the Jamaican community is American programming. And it just happened to be something that ran off in Jamaica as well, and then from Jamaica to the diaspora in America. And I mean, Conscience and Cyclone being based in America, I guess the viral content coming from those regions and South America as well. I mean, when I look on the streamings and the numbers and those that interact in all these TikTok videos, they're coming from Chile, Peru, Colombia, you know, regions that, you know, I thought, you know, dancehall probably didn't have much of a market. And I've just seen it growing and growing and growing. But as I said, the music, we put it out there, it's for the people then to then consume it and then make it a hit or viral.
That's great. And how do you feel about the impact of social media on music promotion today?
Well, as answered in some of from the previous question, I mean, social media right now has provided something where the person that used to make music used to be inaccessible. You used to think about music, you used to have to write fan mail and letters and, you know, send off letters to artists and, you know, hopefully you get a reply. Sometimes you get a reply in the post and it would be the artist management. Now you have direct access to artists via social media. You can tag them, you can send them a DM and all of that. And that element has changed. And even, you know, when we talk about certain solid media that we used to have, TV, radio and such, you now have people doing a radio show and they're streaming it on multiple platforms. They're on Twitch, they're on TikTok, they're on Instagram Live, multiple cameras, and they're doing all of that at once. Whereas before, the one medium would be you go into a studio, you do a radio show, and people could only listen to you via, you know, whatever radio reception they had.
That time,
So, I mean, social media has changed a lot with that. People have to become adaptable with all. I mean, people are now making one content, nice video, post on YouTube Reels, post on TikTok, post on Instagram Reels, and, you know, that's from one video, and they're taking all this, you know, the content from that and using it on multiple platforms, because literally spending time on all the platforms mean, you know, you could lose a whole day and feel like you haven't got anything done. So that's where social media has changed, whereas before, you know, a lot of times people would have to be doing moves from one place to the other. So social media right now, as I said, it's become a way to help the music, but it's also become a way that has kind of taken away from the music as well in some ways. So I guess it then comes down to how you use it, what you get out of it in music.
I think if you want to definitely grow your platform.
Oh yes, definitely.
A good way to do it. And you tour regularly around the world to countries like Chile and Colombia.
Yep.
What's a favourite city of yours and the venue you love to perform in, and why?
No, I don't want to go and state, you know, what's a favourite city or such. I see the places I visit just like the songs I create, and just like how a parent would talk about their children. You love all of them. You love all of them the same. But in different ways, or there's different things about them that will make you, you know, have certain memories of them. What I would say in terms of cultural eye-opening and some of the cities that, you know, it's felt like a home away from home. My recent trip to Colombia, Pereira, felt like that. I have gone to places in Europe that I think was, you know, in Switzerland, when I've gone to Geneva, when I've been to Lausanne.
Places.
Yep, and the likes of even Vienna in Austria. I've been there for probably the most out of all European cities, probably about 10 times. And every time I go there, there's a different historic element, because I kind of love history as well. So seeing a lot of the sculpture, architecture that I see in Vienna, the same when I've been to Italy. And I've been to, last year I went to 5 different cities in Italy. So I started in Milan, went to Venice, then from Venice to Rome, Florence, and then I finished in Naples. And there's different elements, as I said, like in Naples, it was brilliant for food, the people. It felt like a bit like Jamaica in that sense. The food, #1 culture, the people love sports and they love music there. So there's too many cities to literally narrow it down to one. But as I said, each city has brought different, and country has brought different elements that I love about them.
Yeah, that's great. And how do you prepare for a live DJ set, especially for all the different audiences and countries?
I would say, as a DJ, 85% of your job is done before the actual play the first song. My preparation starts from, when I think about it, you know, organizing my playlists, organizing music that I get sent from labels or producers or such. So all that preparation in organizing music, listening to music, is actual preparation for the actual set. So 85% of the job to me is done before I even reach the venue.
Right, okay.
So then it's like muscle memory. You train something like as a sports person, you do the training, you do the drills, and it's repetitive. Just like studying, you have a routine of studying, and then what happens is on the actual day when you're supposed to execute, it feels like muscle memory. Everything becomes natural, and that's the same way I approach with my music and DJing.
So you've been a guest DJ on various radio shows like Flames, Vibe Radio and Kiss FM. What's your favourite part about being on the radio?
What I loved about radio, I saw it like being on the training ground as a sports personnel. It was where I tested out all my techniques as a DJ and sharpened up on those skills. You know, you could try different mixing techniques. You could try different mixes or, you know, things on the fly, live remixes that you wouldn't probably do in a live arena.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
So it was like a training ground. And what I actually loved about my time on radio was, which is something I like about music on a whole, I am very much up on breaking new music. It's something I have a passion for, introducing new music to people. And it hasn't just been reggae and dancehall. I mean, some of my early followings from radio have come from people like Keisha Cole, Missy Elliott. I've broke songs for them. People that follow me on well, the platform's called X now, it was Twitter then. Alicia Keys, Maya, these are all people, and if I go through some of the names, you'll see that they have done collabs with people that I have worked with, like Spice has done songs with Missy Elliott and Maya. Keisha Cole has done shows with radio stations that I've done guest mixes with. So a lot of these relationships were built from radio, and that's what I liked about radio as well. You know, I was able to commit to do morning shows. I started off doing graveyard shifts, which were literally like 3 a.m. to 6.
Wow. Yeah.
When I started off on a station called Blues FM, and it was more for mature listeners. You know, I had like Senator B and DJs that were known for like revival or very, you know, the authentic reggae music, lovers rock. And I was a young person trying to show that I could play all this older music. And eventually I was told, you know, express and be yourself. And I started doing breakfast radio, which meant playing, you know, not from my traditional sound system, hardcore dancehall roots. Breakfast shows was about presentation, weather reports, traffic reports. So I honed presentation skills, and then moving from breakfast radio, I went to drive time radio where I did and specialist shows where I did interviews and such. So radio, what I loved about it was I was able to do multiple elements of radio, from DJing to presenting to interviewing, and actually, you know, it helped improve my skills in what I look at now as myself as a DJ. You can put me in a wedding, I can play for people. You can put me in a corporate event, I can entertain because of those same skills that I gained from radio. And at the same time, if I go into a dancehall party, because when I just started DJing, I didn't touch the microphone much or hosting. I didn't feel confident in my voice, but it's from doing radio, people start saying, you know, you have a very nice voice. And what I realized, I used to think that because coming from the sound system, you know, if you go to probably a dancehall party or see carnival, you hear the DJ or the MC sometimes screaming on the microphone, or his voice is very deep. I thought, if I don't have a big voice, you know, I can't do it in parties, maybe just radio. But that's the thing about people consistently, and the consistency from radio. When people hear your voice or they get used to something, then it becomes natural. Then you don't have to sound like the next person, because your sound now becomes the new sound when you're the person. So that's what radio was able to teach me, and what I gained from radio, and why I love radio so much.
That's good. And you've already kind of dabbled on this, but would you say your experience as a radio DJ has influenced your performance in clubs? Yes,
many ways so, because as I said, radio was like the training stamping ground. And you know, from what I get, as I said, even when I was talking about the preparation as a DJ, 85% done before I actually step into the clubs. What radio did was broaden my horizon in terms of how much music I knew how to play, because doing all of these different hour shows, or, you know, specialist shows, being able to cover R&B show, or hip hop, or drum and bass, reggae, dancehall, breakfast, it broadened my horizon of music that I could play. It also gave me confidence, because that's the next thing. Just like with anything, if you do it frequently and consistently, you get better and you feel more confident in your skills. So in terms of how radio has helped to supplement that in clubs, it's helped in that manner. But clubs, what I will say, and anyone that is a specialist DJ watching this, they might be saying, okay, but you're not touching the element if they're a club DJ, is that the difference between radio and club is that radio, you're not really playing for a live audience. So it's very important when you're in the club to break some of the radio habits, in the sense of its engagement with the crowd. And that's the most important thing. You're playing for the crowd, so watching the crowd. And I'd say two advice for DJs that are playing for live audiences: engage with the crowd, interact with the crowd, and also watch the two elements of what people are doing in the crowd. Those that are spending, you're playing for them as well, and those that are also dancing, whoever you first start getting to dance, make sure you don't lose them, because they're the ones that have then started the vibe for the rest. If you lose them, it's going to be hard to keep the rest. Yes.
And when you're not performing or producing, what do you enjoy doing in your free time?
Well, I'm very much a family person. I have a son who, both of them that play music. My first son is 14. He actually produced his first album when he was 12, so he's done an album before me. He made all the beats. He started off during the pandemic time, where he came out with a song called Glitch, and he shot the video on the iPhone, recorded it on the iPhone. We mixed it on the iPhone because he used a program called GarageBand, and he made most of the beats from there.
That's great.
I mean, even if I wanted to do something else, which is what I wanted to do, literally to have a different life separate from the music for my children, I mean, they kind of love it. The youngest one that is 4, he loves music as well. I think his skill level is already close to his brother that is 10 years his senior. Because, I mean, there's a video viral with him scratching on the laptop, internally, that, a lot of vlog pages and media pages have sent around that. How is this kid at 3 years old, even on TikTok, scratching and mixing on a laptop at that age? So, I mean, crazy. Outside of that, those times with my kids, I like writing poetry. I've done studying. I like reading because I've got my degree in event management, masters in business admin. So I like reading quite a lot. As I said, I've mentioned history. I love traveling, seeing different cities and such. But yeah, I think a lot of the things that I do like doing, they still kind of circle around things that are, involve music in somewhat. I love cooking, but same time I can't be cooking without listening to music. I'm always surrounded by music. Music's always being played around me. If I'm cooking, if I'm playing video game, probably the only time the music isn't on is if I'm watching TV, and even sometimes then still
in the background.
So yeah, a lot of that, it comes down to, as I said, anything that I can do that still lets me have some access to music, I enjoy doing.
And how do you see Jamaican culture influencing your music and the global music scene?
I mean, Jamaica is like, have you seen the size of a Scotch bonnet pepper before? Yes. But yet still it gives, and even ginger, such a kick. I see the influence of Jamaica being that Jamaica's such a tiny place.
I know,
but the influence that it packs is like the punch that a Scotch bonnet packs in terms of the spice and the flavor in your pot, or that zing you get from ginger if you put it in food or drinks. And when I think about Jamaica, the same thing that makes us so good, competitive nature. You think about track and field. When Usain Bolt emerged, there was so many other athletes, and there was Shelley and Fraser. There's so many female athletes. And we have a competitive nature, which is the reason why you look on track and field, and at school level, Jamaica's national stadium is full. These are not people that are stars. This is just things we're passionate about. And I think the Jamaican culture, and I think our music and such, has had an immense influence on not just me and my music, but also on the world I think it comes out in the way we cook, the way we walk, the way we dress. We just like to express ourselves, and I think if a Jamaicans around anybody, anywhere in the world, we have that type of influence where you would start seeing it manifest in the people we're around.
Yeah. And if you could collaborate with any artist, who would it be and why? That's probably a lot.
There's probably a lot, but all right, there's some artists I just dream I could get in the studio just because of how creative I think they are. And someone from not the Jamaican background, I'd love to do a reggae album with Celine Dion.
Ooh.
Yeah, that is something I would dream of. Celine Dion is somebody I wish I could get into. Fantasia. But then when I think about in the reggae and dancehall circuit, there's legends I'd love to work with, like Barry Salmon, Buju Banton. But at the same time, there's also some of the young artists that I really enjoy listening to, like Valiant. There's people like Diani. So there's some that are high in terms of where they are now into popcorn. Popcorn would be something that would be very close to home because we're from the same part of Jamaica, in St. Thomas. So, you know, Skilly Bang is from St. Thomas too, where I come from. So there's artists like that that I would, you know, definitely would like to work with in the future. And there's some that, you know, they're kind of what you call a long shot, like the Celine Dions that I mentioned. But I just feel like we, you know, we could make something legendary and historic.
It's good to have an aspiration as
Yes.
well. And what advice would you give to aspiring DJs and producers trying to make that mark in the industry?
Well, for DJs, and all right, let me start with the DJs. For any DJ, I have mentioned it before, your preparation starts before you actually gets to the venue. So one of the most important things, and I think, and this goes for both the DJ and producers, enjoy what you're doing, love it. I mean, once you love it and you enjoy it, then it won't feel like work. And you have to also believe in and respect, acknowledge and treat all the personnels that you come across in the industry and your team with respect. That is something I would also tell them. And you gotta show people that you appreciate what they do, because there's gonna be a lot of personnels you will come across, a lot of things you will learn along the journey, a lot of things that are gonna be expensive lessons. You're gonna have downs, you're gonna have ups. But if you have a team and you have a set of people and you treat people with respect along the way, you will find yourself having a bit more wins than losses. But you can't look on the journey as, you know, you have many losses and the losses feel, you know, worse than the wins, because with music, whether you're a DJ or production, you're doing production, it takes just one idea to outweigh all those previous, and it wouldn't be that those 99 times were losses. I've seen people mention Michael Jordan was in the NBA for 15 years. He won 6 championships, but you can't consider the other 9 years as failures. Those 9 years were a part of his journey to get 6 championships. So that's how you have to consider your journey for DJing or for producing or anything you're doing in life. The years when you're not winning are not years that you're losing, but they're years that you're learning to build your character to become a winner.
That's a great quote. And how do you stay motivated and inspired in such a competitive field?
The motivation, as I said, if you're doing something that you love, the motivation also, you know, anything that you love, the motivation to get up and do it is because you love it. In terms of feeling inspired or looking at things that you want to do regarding it, is music on a whole. For me, I always look on it as something that I'm not really competing or making a comparison. The only comparison should be, can I make an improvement on the person I was today, tomorrow? So the main competition should be being a better version of yourself every day. And I think wherever that takes you at the end of the journey, it's still down to what person else, because we're in a world where it is people that are going to say, this is what your music done for me. I'm not making music for myself. There's music that is being created. The things that I put out there are for people. And for, as I said, dancehall is a feeling. I want people to have a positive feeling from everything that I'm doing. And that's what I strive to do.
Yeah.
Do that better every day.
And what's next for DJ EPIK Jones? Can fans look forward to any upcoming projects or tours?
Yes, so we're now promoting Now That's Epic. We have released a few singles from it. So we've released Cool It already with a video, Make It Clap as a video. We have also released Pampute's song on the video, and the video for that. We have the album launch party the 9th of December. That's going to feature a few of the artists performing. That's going to be taking place at Greenwich University. And it's kind of home to me in the sense that Greenwich, I live within that borough, and it's the home of time in terms of Greenwich Mean Time. Apart from that, I have tours coming up in the East Coast of America. That starts on the 16th of December. So I have New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Washington, DC, and South Florida, Coral Springs to be exact, in Fort Lauderdale. And then I go on to Jamaica, my annual event in Jamaica, Christmas Day, where I give back to the community. And then there's Freedom Street, which is going to be one of the historic events in Jamaica with Vibes Cartel concert. So I'm going to be there also. And then I'll return here in January for a week before going back to New York. So yes, Epic's going to be busy, and we've already started working on the second album.
That's great to hear.
Yes.
A lot of exciting opportunities coming up. And on behalf of RUNABEAT, I just want to say a huge thank you for coming down here today, and we wish you all the best for your future career.
Thank you so much. I want to say thank you to RUNABEAT as well for giving me the opportunity and the platform to share my journey and my experiences. Thank you for your time.
No problem.
All right. Thank you.
Remember to like, comment and subscribe to RUNABEAT and hit the notification bell. Also, don't forget to follow ours and the artist's socials below.